In the early 1200s, a man who started life with nothing, no army, no land, no title, set out from the grasslands of Mongolia and built the largest connected land empire human history has ever seen. By the time his descendants were finished, that empire stretched from the Pacific coast of China to the edge of Europe, an unbroken stretch of conquered territory roughly the size of the entire continent of Africa. He did it starting as an abandoned child with a wooden collar around his neck, enslaved by the very people who were supposed to protect him. This is the entire history of Genghis Khan, the man history remembers as a monster and a genius in equal measure, and somehow both descriptions are true. He was born around 1162 on the Mongolian steppe, given the name Temujin, the son of a minor tribal chief named Yesugei. It was not a peaceful childhood. When Temujin was around 8 or 9 years old, his father was poisoned by a rival group called the Tatars during what should have been a friendly meal. Here's the part that defines everything that comes next. With Yesugei dead, the tribe he had led simply abandoned his widow and children. No protection, no inheritance, no status. Temujin's family was left to survive alone on the open steppe, reduced from minor nobility to near total poverty almost overnight. Things got worse before they got better. A rival clan, the same one that had once followed his father, captured the teenage Temujin and forced him to wear a wooden collar as a prisoner. He eventually escaped, fleeing into the wilderness rather than accept a life of captivity. It's worth pausing on that detail because the man who would go on to conquer most of the known world once wore a collar like livestock. As if poverty and captivity weren't enough, ancient Mongolian accounts describe a moment that reveals exactly how ruthless Temujin would become. Locked in a dispute with his older half-brother Bator over hunting scraps and family standing, the teenage Temujin killed him, not in the heat of battle, but reportedly in a deliberate, calculated act to secure his own position as head of the family. From a position with absolutely nothing, Temujin began doing what he would do for the rest of his life, building alliances. He married a woman named Borte, and when she was kidnapped by a rival clan shortly after, Temujin called on powerful allies, including a steppe leader named Togrul, to help him get her back. The successful rescue wasn't just a personal victory. It put Temujin on the map as someone other leaders could ally with, fight alongside, and take seriously. Over the following years, Temujin steadily built a reputation as a brilliant and fiercely loyal commander. Unlike most steppe leaders, he didn't reward people based on bloodline or tribal status. He promoted based on skill and loyalty alone, even elevating men of low birth into positions of real power if they earned it. In a society built entirely on tribal hierarchy, this was almost unthinkable, and it earned him followers who weren't just soldiers, they were believers. One by one, Temujin began defeating or absorbing rival tribes across the Mongolian steppe. His former best friend and blood brother, a man named Jamuka, eventually became his greatest rival, the two of them fighting a long and bitter war for supremacy over the same homeland they'd once shared. Temujin won. By 1205, every major rival on the Mongolian plateau had been defeated, absorbed, or executed. In 1206, with no one left to challenge him, a great assembly of Mongol leaders gathered and proclaimed Temujin as ruler of all the Mongol people. He took a new name that day, one that would echo through history, Genghis Khan, meaning roughly universal ruler. For the first time in generations, the Mongol tribes were not warring with each other. They were unified, organized, and pointed outward. And what Genghis Khan built next wasn't just an army, it was a machine. He completely restructured Mongol society, breaking up the old tribal bonds that had caused centuries of infighting and reorganizing his people into military units of tens, hundreds, and thousands, where loyalty was owed not to your bloodline, but to the Mongol state itself. And to him, he banned the kidnapping of women, made livestock theft punishable by death, and demanded looting only happen after total victory, not during chaotic raids. For a society that had spent generations tearing itself apart, this was, in its own brutal way, order. By 1209, Genghis Khan turned this new war machine outward, launching a major campaign against the Western Xia kingdom in what's now northern China. The Western Xia agreed to submit and pay tribute within a year. It was a pattern that would repeat across the next 2 decades. Submit to Mongol rule or be destroyed completely. There was rarely a middle option. Next came the Jin dynasty, one of the most powerful states in northern China. The war against the Jin dragged on for years, but by 1215, Mongol forces had captured the Jin capital city, a staggering achievement against what was, on paper, one of the most sophisticated military powers on earth. But the moment that truly reveals who Genghis Khan was as a conqueror came in 1219, far to the west, in the wealthy Khwarazmian Empire, which controlled much of modern-day Iran and Central Asia. Genghis Khan, looking to open peaceful trade routes between his empire and the Khwarazmian world, sent a group of ambassadors and merchants to negotiate. The Khwarazmian governor had them executed instead. Genghis Khan's response was total and merciless. He personally led an invasion of roughly 200,000 horsemen into Khwarazmian territory. Major cities like Samarkand and Urgench were besieged, captured, and in many cases virtually erased. Mongol soldiers were ordered to execute set numbers of citizens from conquered populations as a matter of policy, and entire regions of farmland and infrastructure were deliberately destroyed. The death toll from this single campaign is still debated by historians today, but even conservative estimates put the number in the hundreds of thousands. Some accounts suggest the true number was vastly higher. To the Islamic world, this campaign became one of the most catastrophic events in their history, a wound that writers and historians described in horror for generations afterward. This is the side of Genghis Khan that earned the Mongols their fearsome reputation across medieval Europe and Asia alike, where one chronicler infamously described them as a, quote, detestable nation pouring out like devils. And yet this same conqueror, responsible for almost unimaginable destruction, also built something genuinely unprecedented once a region was under his control. Genghis Khan granted religious freedom across his empire decades before that idea took hold almost anywhere else in the world. He exempted the poor and religious clergy from taxation, encouraged literacy, commissioned a writing system for the Mongol language, and protected merchants and trade routes with brutal efficiency, eventually creating safe passage across Asia that would come to be known as the Pax Mongolica, the Mongol Peace. It's one of the strangest contradictions in world history. The same empire responsible for the slaughter of entire cities also created the safest trade corridor the world had ever seen, connecting China to the Middle East to Europe in ways that simply hadn't existed before. By the early 1220s, Genghis Khan's generals, men like Jebe and Subutai, were leading expeditionary forces almost unimaginable distances from Mongolia itself, reaching as far as Georgia in the Caucasus and the territory of Kievan Rus in what's now Ukraine and Russia. The Mongol war machine, once a collection of feuding tribes on a single grassland, was now operating on a continental scale. Genghis Khan never saw the full extent of what his empire would eventually become. In 1227, while leading yet another campaign against the rebellious Western Xia kingdom, he died. The official cause remains uncertain. Some accounts claim illness, others describe an injury from being thrown off his horse. His final burial location was deliberately kept secret, and to this day, despite extensive searching, his tomb has never been found. After his death, his third son, Ogadei, took over as the next great Khan, and the empire kept expanding for decades. Within 2 generations, Genghis Khan's descendants would control territory stretching from the Pacific Ocean to the outskirts of Hungary in Eastern Europe, including his grandson Kublai Khan, who would eventually rule as Emperor of China itself. Here's something most people don't know. Genghis Khan never allowed a single portrait, sculpture, or image of his own face to be made during his lifetime. Every single painting and depiction of him that exists today, The ones you'll see throughout this video were created after his death, based entirely on descriptions and imagination rather than his actual likeness. The most feared man in the medieval world made sure that even in death, no one truly knew exactly what he looked like. Genghis Khan's empire would eventually fracture among his descendants, splitting into separate khanates that would themselves rise and fall over the following centuries. But the man who started it all, the abandoned child who once wore a wooden collar as a captive, had already changed the world permanently. He connected continents that had barely known of each other's existence, and in the process became, by most historical estimates, the founder of the largest contiguous land empire that has ever existed. Every empire falls eventually, but few have ever risen from less or further than this one.